the order is going to be AC, NC, and then some other issues. So starting with the top of the case, on value of societal welfare, he talks about how it's actually helping the society by protecting the environment because people are happy, but there is no warrant to that, so you can look to that defense. And also on his criterion, he talks about how uh, preservation of is like better, like because people will go extinct or something. But first, like there's no warrant. And again, if we actually uphold, okay, so you can actually extend UDHR here. It's like everyone has the right to development in life, and with the right to development, all other human rights are achieved. So the only way to actually achieve his criterion and uphold his criterion is through the affirmative, negative, because if the right to development is upheld, the the developing countries will preserve. And also on his convention one, he talks about no, it's actually worse, but there's no warrant to that. And basically, all his case it's dropped, so you can't even look at that right now. And now let's go down to the NC. So starting with my value of human rights, he says that there's like major environment harms and the environment is bad, but you can actually extend Barron's here, where it talks about how since the developing countries account for most of the environmental harms, they should help out. And you can also extend Cartha here, and he talks about how it's actually unfair for the developing countries to have all of this environment protection dumped upon them because they can't do it. And you can also extend the Library of Congress here, which is dropped on top of my case, which talks about how the developing countries have like low income and they have like no social indicators and they can't actually achieve all of this environmental protection. And now let's go down to my criterion. He talks about how like there's violence and stuff and conflict, but you can actually turn again the Royal Ten card, which talks about how economic decline actually causes all of this. And the only way to, and also second, it's the only way to actually achieve the uphold the criterion is by right to development. And now let's go down to my condition one. He talks about like the boom and bust, and people are dependent. If the people are dependent, the things will run out and whatever. But you can extend FATD here, which talks about how the countries will resource extraction creates jobs and provides government with revenues to deliver to services to their citizens. They're looking at ways to extract resources for sustainable economic growth. So they're actually doing it sustainably, so that actually help out in later years. And now let's go down to my contention two, which he basically says that preservation of developing countries comes first. Like they should do it too, but again, you can't do that. Carthage and the Library of Congress, which talks about how they can't do it. They don't have enough money. It's unfair for them. Developed, you can also extend variance here. Like the developed countries actually account for most of the environmental harms, and also you can extend UDHR here how right to development comes first. That's the most inalienable human right they have right now. So first, what we have to do is get the right to development actually developed in those countries, and then after that, maybe they can do it. Now let's go to some key voting issues. So the first voting issue is the value and criterion debate. So the only way to look in today's round is through the value of human rights and maximizing governmental legitimacy. Because if we actually uphold the right to development, uh, we will achieve the government legitimacy and actually uphold societal welfare because people are in a better situation because they're developed and actually preserve his also criterion of preservation of developing countries. Because if we do right to development first, in a in short term actually that will end up preserving the developing countries. So the only way to achieve this criterion is to be negative. And now let's go down to my second voting issue, which is the Barron's card under my contention two, which talks about how since the developed like so basically what the negative is saying is that the negative can only solve for the environmental protection right now because developed countries account for most of the environmental harms, and they're the ones that should actually do the environmental protection, not the developing countries, because the first priority is to develop. And also on my third voting issue is the Shaw evidence under my convention one, which talks about how there are like people dying each day, 22,000 children, die each day due to poverty. There's a big gap between the rich and poor, and this makes it harder to solve for poverty. And you can also extend Fraser here. Economic growth actually leads to salvation of poverty. It gets more than 400 million out of poverty. So I solve for poverty thus by solving for societal welfare and stuff. And also my fourth voting is, okay, that's it.